How's it going, everyone? My name is Player Code. As I realize I still have my name up on here. So I know I look a little different than how I usually am. I'm usually a VR headset with little like hand pieces showing as I wiggle them around. This is my usual avatar I like to be in, my usual setup here. But basically, I'm making the video because I want to show kind of like what's been going on the past 3 weeks to about a month in a sense. I have been working on this Metaverse Maker Competition. I finally got it working after saying it multiple times in my head. But basically, this is a world that I created within about a month, and there is definitely still a lot of things that is still needing to be made. But as of the whole time frame from September 1st to October 1st is basically what I came up with. So I know this video is going to be really, really long and maybe about a little longer than I usually have. So I will try my best to put timestamps and basically make it where you can be able to just hop from the different sections of the video and see what I have created. So without further ado, let's go check out the first thing, which shall be the front entrance. And I currently have this set up as a walk/run so that there is no clip motion or flying kind of motion. Okay, so as you can see, it's called Theme Park World. I know it's not very original of a name, but I wanted it to be where the future name of the theme park is. And so, as it doesn't really need much of an explanation, but I originally wanted this to be where the judges would appear over here. But since there was only so much time that was available, it just seemed easier to have it be where the judges would appear there instead of right here. So this has a pretty barren look to it. It does have a lot of fences. This is the future plans that I do have set up for it. Bear in mind that when I was doing this project, this was just me by myself. I did try to find some people who would want to participate in this with me as well, but pretty much everybody else was in their own groups, or they had wanted to be those people that, if they wanted to hop from world to world and help different users, that they would be that service offered to them. So as we show here, it says ticket booth. I wanted it to be where this little section here will be kind of the exit, and then this little section here would be like the entrance. And then what would happen is there would be something like a ticket booth or something where you would have something like a ticket or a pass where you'd be able to insert, and it would allow you grant access to the whole world or the whole theme park in itself. It's pretty self-explanatory in itself. Collider for entrance was more where in some theme parks or different areas they have it where there's something blocking the way, and that until you put the ticket in or you get authorized to enter, it blocks your pathway and you basically can't get into the world. That is something I wanted to implement. And then more fences, because as you can see, there is not enough fences to basically block off the whole entrance or getting into this world. As regards to a mini parking lot and having bike locks, I wanted it to be where, as you were spawning kind of around here, that shows where all the cars are located at, which technically when you're going to an amusement park or a theme park, I'll just, for the whole sake of the video, I'll just say amusement park in a sense, because people usually associate different rides in real world to a amusement park or to a name in reality. But we'll just stick with amusement park throughout the whole system, that everybody knows that amusement park and theme park, they're going to be the same thing in that context. So back again to the whole parking lot, I wanted to be where there were some cars around here that look like you would have just driven to the amusement park, and this is what you are, wanting to go to. And then NPCs as backgrounds. There is a person named Anominable. I might have butchered the name for it, but he had actually made a Metaverse Maker Competition submission of actual NPC characters that did certain activities. That what I wanted to do was create maybe some NPC characters that would choose to either be going into the world but also be going outside of the amusement park. I almost said theme park, but basically go through the amusement park and be able to, kind of give more of a realistic background feel to it. Okay, so now this will be the entrance area. So now we will head over to kind of the first attraction or the first area that was first created. That it was the first one that I had high hopes for, and that there was a lot of time that was spent to it. And after having some data crashes and having some logics hiccups, it finally started to work. Okay, so here we are. We are at what I want to call the balloon pop attraction, or basically the dartboard game. And so what this is about is, when I created this, I wanted it to be where you would have some darts that would appear and would be readily available to you. And with all these balloons that are here, you're supposed to be able to pop them, and then eventually there would be some prizes. Basically, that's how usually a lot of these games would appear as. And so the original thought I had for this is that if you wanted to do 2 darts, you would push the 2 darts, or if you wanted to do 3 darts, it's pretty self-explanatory in itself. Originally, there used to be a pulse button that made it where all these balloons would restart. And when we had Fruxius, who was one of the judges of doing this competition, I had noticed that when he was trying this out, he would respawn all the different darts, and then he would quickly, as I will demonstrate, grab the different darts, pop the different balloons, and go from there. When he was done, he grabbed more and started spawning more from there. And then what I had realized is that as time had gone by, the darts would have disappeared, as they may show after about 30 seconds or so. It will take a little bit of time to do that, but trust me when I explain this, that originally how the world was going to happen for this dartboard is that when you would press these different darts, they would appear and then they would despawn. And then what you would do is you'd push this button, and then as you can see, basically all the balloons appeared. The thing I had noticed that Fruxius had attempted to do is that when he had the multiple darts available and he had shot a lot of them outwards, that it was the point where they disappeared, and then he reset the board and it still showed that the darts were still there. So as I will explain a little bit later, there are some ideas I want to do to make it work better in a sense. But as you can see, and you'll understand what I mean when these guys are supposed to despawn, those fellas that were already on the board look like they had already disappeared. So now you can see that they're no longer in the spots where the balloons were at. There is, within the logics, there is a 30-second timer countdown that's made, which had made me realize that maybe I should put like a timer to indicate to the players that these guys, as you can see, they had despawned. So as you can see, I will have a future list of things I want done. Basically have a high score system that was actually inspired by Fruxius, that it made me realize, what if you have it where instead of having these 2 darts available, you just have 3 darts, they spawn, toss all 3, spawn again, throw more, and then just have it be when come the 30 seconds or come like 60 seconds, then basically, as it shows there, the timer for despawning darts, it basically just despawns all the darts that were thrown, and then it refills the dartboard, And then as it shows over here that it says add pop balloon effect, that, when you're popping a balloon, it makes a pop effect that is obviously heard. And then having the point system would be kind of like your high score system, that depending on how many like darts you throw, how many times you make it through, that it will show up and say congratulations, you got such and such points, basically. And then you can brag to your friends about it or challenge it to other people as well. Okay, whoops. All right, so now that would be the balloon dart that have been created. I do want to mention that there was special thanks to Eucalopt, who had helped out with a lot of the logics and then making sure that everything worked smoothly for that. Without him, basically the balloon dart game would not have been able to work. Okay, so now we are over here at the Ferris wheel. As I back up a little more, we'll get probably a little bit better of a view of its greatness to it. Okay, so move it to smooth POV. And here is one of my favorite creations. So a little bit more context to this ride is that originally all the things around here are made within Neos. The only thing that I had to actually make within Blender, but is also from a Sketchfab model, I will leave a link for that specific model, is this cart and the little seats and the bars as well. These guys were something I had to take and put into Blender and be able to break it down so that there was not only a pivot point, but there was also a better way of handling all the different pieces together. So how does it work? Basically, as you can see with this green go button, basically what you want to do is you want to hop into the cart or carriage, as some people may call it. There are these different anchor templates that are special shout outs to Hebo, who actually had created the anchor template, that without him, I wouldn't have been able to have any of these rides made possible. So what you do is you go into this cart here. The one thing I will mention as of right now, if this is a group of people or if it's just doing things solo, there's nothing wrong with going in a Ferris wheel by yourself. That you're going to want to be able to kind of sit at the far end section where you can actually push the go switch right here, because as you will see that when I push the go button, it'll go from a green go button to a red stop button, and when I push that, it'll actually make the ride start to move. So as I click it, now the ride starts moving. And as you can see where I'm sitting with this blue like cable stuff here, we are now moving within the cart and on the Ferris wheel. You do get a bit of a view. I do plan on in the future working out getting these meshes for these bars in a sense, because they do take away the whole scenery. Let's head over to this side here so that everybody else can kind of get a little more of a view of what's going on. The other thing that is good to keep in mind is if I go into third person, I can stand in this cart and I can move around casually, because there is a character parenter piece or a component that was made and implemented here. So you technically can sit in the cart or you can be able to stand up. The only thing I will advise is that as you're descending downward, as you can see right now, I'm basically hopping up and down. Eventually what's going to happen, there we go. Eventually what's going to happen is you are going to basically fly out of the cart and you cannot get onto the cart until you try and get down into where the ramp is from there. Okay, so going back to smooth POV, as you can see, there is the stoplight. I'm going to want to make sure I hit that as I get close to where the ramp is, which is about here. There we go. Yeah. So now we can actually get off of the Ferris wheel and go on to the next attraction. All right, so that is the Ferris wheel, but now the big question is what do we want to do next, or what are the future plans for this Ferris wheel? So we go back to over here. This is basically the plans that will be implemented towards the Ferris wheel. That, as you can see, this has the first and foremost is a door that opens and closes. That there was many references that were made for the cart slash carriage, and even the model that was beforehand actually had it where there was something that was over here that was separate from the actual model. But the problem was is to create the pivot for having it be closed to go open was not like a high priority at the time, and because of just creating it, trying to make it possible, it eventually just made it where here's the ramp, you go in, and it's simple as that. So I do plan on having it be where there's going to be an actual fencing concept or a door that you can be able to be in here, and if say you want to get out, you can be able to push a button right there, the door will open, you can come out of the ramp. Or what could also happen is that depending on if you hit the when it's a stop button, if you press it to be go, then it may open it as well. But that is definitely something that is probably in the works as well. So seat bars, that is something that is maybe like an extra additive, but it kind of makes sense to have it be where instead of having it be where you're sitting down, it seems a little illogical to have it be where if you just sit down, all of a sudden your gravity just does not become a thing, basically. And so there was a concept of either having like a seat belt or having it be where a bar actually comes over you is what will soon be implemented in the near future. The other thing too is, as I mentioned before about a button ride or conductor station, that as we can see, the buttons right here to stop and go, that if people want it to be where you can be able to just push the button and let everybody else go on the ride, or if we want it to be where everybody else can get on the ride and then have it be where you sit down and you push the go button and the stop button, there is that possibility. However, as far as what I've heard, that logics wise, that may cause some problems here and there. So it may happen, it may not happen. In the near future, it would be interesting to see how that goes. And then lastly, there is a light system. Personally, for me as a child, when I was a lot younger, I always loved staying out late during the fair or out at an amusement park and always seeing like the light displays they have. And so there are these different spokes that are around here that it would be nice to have like these little bulbs as my thumb cannot stay there. Okay, like these little orbs basically that you can be able to just place on there, and that if there's a nighttime session, that basically those lights would kick in and they would be affected real time as well. All right, so that is the Ferris wheel. That is something I really enjoyed. That took a little bit of time. That also Eucalopt and Probable and Freaky Waves had also helped with implementing the buttons, making sure that the codings for the logics was all working out. And so then on to our last, well, kind of last attraction. I say there's another attraction afterwards, but it's not really a ride per se. But this one is what I like to call the Pendulum ride or pirate ship ride. As you can kind of see, it doesn't look really much like a pirate ship, but it does have some concept or an idea for that. I know some places like amusement parks and fairs and carnivals, they have something similar to this where it's basically a boat that will sway up and it will get some momentum, kind of like how a pendulum works in a sense. So how does this work? Basically, what originally happened when the day before submitting this, I had tried to make the actual overlay here a lot better and more accessible. But basically what you do is you go up this ramp up here, go up. This is basically the whole ride in itself. And then what you'll do, as you can see, is that there's multiple different anchor templates, again, without Hebo helping me out with this, and Eucalopt also being able to make it where these handlebar models were made possible. As you will see, I will sit down, and then basically the handlebar is supposed to come down from there. To better show it, I will put this in third person, and when I choose to sit down, basically the handlebar comes down. It's supposed to hit where my lap is, because in most places, I believe it's more like OSHA or different regulations that they're supposed to have a safety bar and have forms of protection there. So besides that, basically this is what the seats are like. For me personally, I'm somebody who liked to be more in the back seat of the area and in the middle of the ride. So what we'll do is we'll go kind of in the middle. Okay, there we go. The handlebar goes down, and then what I'll do to save us some time, well, first, as you can see here, that's the go button. So that is what's going to start the whole ride. So basically this is in a static neutral position, but once I push that go button, then the Logix is going to tell the whole ride there is a pivotal point where the go will say, all right, start a rotation and get it to about 90 degrees. And so what I'll do is I will put this in third person, and then I will make the camera go further out. Oops. There we go. Go further out, and then move over there. Okay. So now you see my side, and then I'll go a little out. So it's like you're basically spectating me going on the ride. Okay, so I will click go and have the ride start. And you will kind of see where my avatar is. So that everything starts moving, basically. Maybe move it, whoops, little. There we go. So now, as you can see, whoa, basically the ride will now start to basically rotate within where the pivot is at, and it will move the ride kind of like how a pendulum works. If I go out much further, might be able to see it more now. So now I'm basically on the ride, and the ride is going to reach about 90 degrees, and you can start getting a little bit of motion sickness if you're not too careful about it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, as you can probably see as I wave my hand, is I'm going to push the stop button, and the stop button is going to basically now create the ride to have a slow down motion, basically. Here we go.
And don't forget, hit Control S to save your work.
Yes, that is very important as well. I make sure no matter what that we're supposed to save our work, because you could have database corruptions and that's a bad thing. Okay, so now as you know with every other ride, basically they say wait until the ride comes to a complete stop. Like a complete stop, not just a stop or a roll kind of stop. Okay, so here I am. We are back to facing me and following where I'm going. So I will get out of the ride, go back into smooth POV. Here we go. And then we will go out the traditional way of going out the other side of the ride. And there you have it. You've officially gone on the Pendulum ride. This is pretty much a ride that I was happy about, because this ride was something where this was in crunch mode. This was like the last week of the whole competition, and so I was really glad to see how it turned out in the end. And I know there's definitely a lot of stuff that needs to be, fixed or changed in a sense. So without further ado, let's go and check out what the to-do list we have for our future plans. Okay. So we have here, as I mentioned earlier before we started the ride, is that work on the layout of it, where having it be where you can actually go up the ramp, making sure it looks presentable, and then getting rid of this gray, like blotchy looking kind of stuff. And then changing the handlebar rigging, as you may have noticed that when I went on the ride, that there were multiple handlebars, when it may be much more easier and better to have it be where you can have just one specific handlebar comes down, and then everybody else is pretty much secure in a sense. And then sound effects is, as you can probably tell throughout this whole video, that there's not really any sound effects except for obviously the save your items by Control S. So that is definitely something else to work on to just give it more of that realistic feel to it. And then lastly, I can't emphasize enough that, this is called a pirate ship, but as we can see, it does not look like a pirate ship. So that is definitely another thing that technically I should probably put that on the top of the list. There we go. So that will be the Pendulum Pirate Ride. So there is technically one last attraction, but it's not really an attraction, but it is something that I did spend a lot of time trying to work on. But there's definitely many things and rooms for improvement. Okay, so here we are at it looks like a maze in a sense, but this is actually like a gender neutral bathroom, or a unisex basically bathroom. And so this one was definitely like a 24-48 hour creation. So as you can see, all it is just the toilet stalls, the bathroom sink, and if we go a little closer, you can actually see there is a soap dispenser, which is a little kind of fancy, I think, for some theme parks or amusement parks. Again, amusement parks, not theme parks. But this was something that definitely needed a little more attention because, again, as I go back to the sinks here, you can tell that these little fellas don't dispense soap, and these knobs don't work, no water comes in. So it kind of breaks the immersion of a bathroom. And then the other thing too is that these bathroom stalls, technically in real life, you're supposed to, push the stalls, or you're supposed to open them so you can, reach through them. The other thing too, as you can see, is toilets have lids. They're supposed to have a lid. They're supposed to be like a area where you're supposed to sit on and go to the restroom. So most of these guys don't really have everything together, and the little lever is not really functional, so it should have something like a flushing effect. The other thing that's kind of nice though is I did add a little bit of a golden toilet as a joke, in a sense, for anyone that likes golden toilets or can understand the joke. So the only thing that was also missing here is that there is no paper towel dispenser, or there is no like air dryer like hand concept. So this definitely was something that was just created off the fly. It was supposed to be a background kind of concept. And then if we go to the other side, it's pretty much the same thing as well, but just to save you guys the time and watching the video, I'm not going to go in there. But yeah, that'll be basically the bathroom that was created. So any plans that are made for it, I pretty much reiterated it where, there's no water coming in, there's no soap being dispensed. So making sure that there's running water and some effects added to it. And then the bath stalls, making it where you can actually push the door and actually, sit on the toilet and, do your stuff. Flushing toilets also helps make it, more realistic. It makes it much more, like an actual toilet, basically. This isn't like the early, like, Western times where, you just do your business and other stuff like that. I don't need to go into details of it. But then what's funny is the whole spare squares concept is that I did not add any toilet paper, which is never that good. You never want to use a toilet or use a stall that, has no toilet paper. Otherwise, you're basically asking someone to spare a square. So definitely adding a toilet paper dispenser and having rolls available is a must and will be implemented in the near future. And then, as I mentioned before, having a blow dryer and paper towel dispenser because when you wash your hands, it's supposed to be clean, and then you want to dry off your hands. Alrighty, so that and this is basically the whole theme park world or amusement park, as I said before. But like I said, this is a work in progress, so there's definitely going to be some more things coming down the pipeline. I don't want to share too much information in this video, but I will be able to have more developer logs as to what other attractions will be created and what rides will, be more functionable here in Neos. And so I also want to give a big shout out and kind of like also share this to everybody else so that they know that it's like these are the people that actually made this world possible for me and easier as well. So as we have here, we have Eucalopt, we have Probable Prime, Vigil or Vigilabo, we have Freaky Waves, and then we have the Sketchfab community where you have the website for all the other designers who had made these different assets that actually helped make the world a little bit more kind of like an amusement park, but more doable in a sense. And then the Neos community, everybody else who had came into the world and helped me out mentally and helped me out with just keep focusing and just keep working and answering a lot of my questions. I really have to give a big shout out to them. And then, as I've now mentioned multiple times, that Hebo, who created the anchor seat template, that without him doing that, I would not have been able to have any seats for the pirate ship pendulum ride or the Ferris wheel as well. All right, so I will leave that as the end of the video. I know this is quite a long video. I'm already going at about 30, a little over 30 minutes. So, like I said, I will make sure to have different timestamps that will indicate where and what is being discussed. So if you don't want to have to keep watching the whole video, you don't have to. You can just skip to the different parts from there. Or if you want to hear more of my rambling and seeing me trot around like a gazelle, that's it's up to you. Feel free to, do as you please there. I don't know how to end this video in a sense. I know ending of videos can be a little finicky there. I know that for some people on YouTube, it's like, oh, click, like, subscribe, and all that stuff. So, it's whatever you guys want is up to you. Just know that this really helps me out. It really gives me the motivation. Yeah, I can't even talk after half an hour of showcasing what I've created. But, if with you guys, helping me out, checking out these videos, sharing it with your friends or people that, are enthusiastic about these kind of things, it really helps me out. It really helps, having people see what is being created. And also, too, it just kind of lets me know what you guys like to see more often. If you like theme parks, if you like seeing 3D models, then that's great. I'm glad that you guys are able to see something like this that is of interest to you. So again, if you guys, subscribe, it really helps me out. It also lets you guys know what's going on. It lets you guys be notified as to any new projects or new things that come up in a sense. And then, just having people see that they like it just kind of helps with, I think, the YouTube algorithm, or I know people on YouTube that have been there for years are just like, oh, you gotta like this, you gotta smash that like button, the bell, and all this stuff there. And I know that's sounds like really old to be saying about it's just like, oh, why do you have to do that? But I mean, you guys pretty much know we've had YouTube for a long time there as well. So I will have this video in a series of NeosVR and Project Theme Park, which I know throughout this whole video I've been saying amusement park. So either way, you can take either phrase as it is, but this will be a part of a series where I will have different other items available. And I'm now realizing I'm rambling on. You guys know what's going on. So again, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the help that everybody's had for in the Metaverse Maker competition, and with just helping me out with learning how to be here in Neos, create these different items. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye.